Hi everyone. I wanted to do a quick video just to address some issues that some of you are having with the Chapter 10 assignments for Visual Basic. I discovered today that if you are running Visual Studio 2019 and you have Office 365, and that would be, Microsoft's cloud-controlled edition of Office that you all get for free as a student, or you may have purchased through Office 365, soon to be renamed Microsoft 365, by the way, that you may have some issues accessing Access database files in Visual Studio if they are not set up correctly. So let me show you what's happening. If I'm right here in Visual Studio and I go to Project and I want to add a new data source like the book would tell us to do, so an access file that we're given would be the first option there, database, and we would choose data set right there. And for all of us, we would have to create a new connection to that database. So when we go to new connection, we choose Microsoft Access database file and click continue. And then we browse to find the location of the file that we need. So for me, I saved mine in a folder on my desktop called database test files. So ART would be the one for the guided programming assignment for this chapter. I'll select it, click open, and when I click test connection, I get an error that says the Microsoft ACE OLDB 12.0 provider is not registered on the local machine. And OLEDB is an older technology from Microsoft. It stands for Object Linking and Embedding. And if the version of OLEDB that is being utilized by Visual Studio isn't matching the version that is being utilized in your Office 365 installation, this is a very similar error to this is what you're probably getting. So there's one easy way to fix that. If I cancel out of this and look at this access file, so I've got art.accb. It's an Access database file. If I double click it to open it in Access, you'll notice up here it says Access 2007 to 2016 file format. One way to get around this problem is to save it in an older file format. So right here with Artist open, I can go File, Save As, and instead of doing this first option, which is Access database, I can do Access 2002 to 2003 database, which is actually a different file extension. So I'll click that, click Save As, and I'm going to put it in the very same folder on my desktop where I have my other one saved. You can put it wherever as long as you point it to the right direction in Visual Studio. So I'm going to save it as ART, and I'm going to verify it says Microsoft Access Database 2002 to 2003. So I'll click Save right there, and as soon as that's done, I'm going to close out of Access because I don't want any arguments between Visual Studio and Access when they're trying to access those files. So I'm going to close out of that, and notice I've got two of them. And let's see here. I will go to Details so you all can see. If I look at these, they both say Microsoft Access Database. They're slightly different files, but the icon for that one is the older Microsoft Access Database icon. So I know that I've got two separate files here. So I can go back into Visual Studio, and this time when I go to Project, I can go to Add New Data Source, click Database, click Data Set, go to New Connection. I'm still going to choose Microsoft Access Database file, and I can browse for my file name right here, and I want to choose the one that I just saved, the older one, and click Open. Now, if you go Test Connection on this as well, you'll see Test Connection Succeeded. And for 95% of you out there, this will fix your problem. If this doesn't fix your problem, there's one other thing you can do. So if this test connection failed, you could go to Advanced, and under Provider here for Source, it's at the very bottom of this list. You can change the provider to be Microsoft Jet OLEDB 4.0, which is a much older version of Object Linking and Embedding, and it will definitely work with that. So then you can click OK, and Test Connection should say succeeded. And if it says succeeded, you're good to go. You can go on to the next steps in the application that's described in the book, and you won't have any issues. If you can't get this to work correctly, let me know. Reach out to me and let me know, and we will work through it together. I have no way of knowing what version of Office you all have on your machines, or more specifically, what update channel your version of Office 365 is on. So again, for 90% of you, this may be totally fine. But those of you who are having issues, reverting to an older file type is probably your best way to get around that. So attached to this item in Blackboard, I put my converted version, the older version of the Microsoft Access database, so that you could start with that if you need to. And for the second programming project, when you choose your own, it doesn't really matter which one you choose. You'll just have to open it in Microsoft Access and save it as an Access database, a 2003 version of an Access database, and then it'll work for you. Like I said, reach out if I can be help. Thanks.